Hello again and welcome back. I'm really stoked to sort of be bringing you a last instalment of this engine. We're 9 years into it now and it's been pretty frustrating at times, but here it is. It's all running. It's fully sequential on fuel and ignition with using a Mega Sweat computer, and it's making a really easy 300 horsepower. I originally had a supercharger mounted down here thinking that it would need it, and when we ran it without it, it just mauled the propeller. It just went right through to 3,000 RPM, which is an absolute maximum for this. And at one stage it was doing that on 8 cylinders. So it's really, really good result for me, and I'm very happy with that. I suppose it is 7.8 litres, but you know, I didn't really expect it to be that good, and I suspect it would push a 350 horsepower propeller, no worries, because the long stroke gives it so much torque. So you know, I've kept the supercharger just in case I get carried away one day and want to up the stakes a bit and get some more power. But in the meantime, we better do some running and make sure that it stays together in this condition. So I'll show you around the back end of the engine here. First up, we've got the electrical cabinet here with all the fuses and relays, oil cooler, and in this box is the Mega Squirt computer. That's a MS3X, which gives it 8 channels, and there's another extension board being put on to actually make it run 12 cylinders sequentially. And of course we only needed one more, so this is the trickster here, and we had a bit of trouble getting the number 8 cylinder to fire with the fuel. It wasn't driving it, so we've joined 8 and 6 together because they are both in the intake cycle at the same time, and that's worked very well. And if it had been the ignition side, it would have been more difficult, but that's been a way around it. Now the cam system on this is a very large system, very all open-ended, needs a lot of oil. So down here there's a little electric pump, and I'm using that to prime the cam system and get oil pressure into there and fill all the galleries up prior to starting to cut down on the wear. There's also on the electrical side 2 oil pressure switches that will drop the power to the ECU if either of the systems fails. So if the cam system drops oil pressure or the crank system drops pressure, power will be cut to the ECU. And I've got a bypass switch here which overrides them to get the engine started and get the oil pressure up really quickly, so to help with the wear factor. And then you know, I can release that switch and all as well. So we've got the normal gauges here, oil gauge for temperature, a crank one, a cam one. This is a standalone Innovate air fuel ratio gauge. Engine's running a bit rich at the moment, so it needs more tuning, but it's good enough for starting and having a bit of fun with, and we'll refine that as we go along. Boost gauge, which of course it doesn't have now, but it still has a vacuum side, which is handy to look at. So we'll fire it up and you can see how it all goes. So first up, we turn this to the priming position, which it already was, and then we hit that and we watch the gauge rising here to fill up that system. Once we've got 10 pounds of pressure, we drop that, hit the bypass switch to connect the oil pressure switches, and here we go. Ignition, start. So you get the idea. You can't really hear much exhaust note, it's very quiet, and the propeller just evaluates it. So I get a little bit when I'm here, a little bit of exhaust note, but for the masses, very sad. It's such a nice exhaust note too. But anyway, I thank you all for your support over the years. It's always good to have when things are going wrong, and you know that there's people out there that will want to see how it's going and see the end result like this. So I'm very happy to have had you along for the ride on that, and I'll see you down at the airstrip and on the dirt track where we had the engine blowing along a Toyota Ute, and 70 k's an hour is no problem on the dirt, and we have had it up to 110 on the bitumen, just sneakily, and so the 800 pounder thrust, it's very effective. So we'll see you there.